Keisha and Mira joined us in the halls, fingers entwined. They looked beamy, too. "Not a bad day for gay Jew boys, huh?" Keisha said to me. "Not a bad day for Afro-Chinese lesbians either," I pointed out. Keisha nodded. "You know it's the truth." We had all skipped school the previous 2 days to get out the vote. Since most of us weren't old enough to drive, we acted as dispatchers, fielding calls from Kennedy-conscious old-age home residents and angry enough agoraphobic liberals, making sure the buses came to take them to the polls. Other kids, like Jimmy, had been at the polling places themselves, getting water and food for people as they waited hours for their turn to vote. Our state hadn't made it illegal to give people water and food like some other states. I felt that history was happening. Not like a natural disaster or New Year's Eve. No, this was human-made history. And here I was, an infinitesimally small part of it. We all were. Suddenly, I felt 2 arms wrap around me from behind, the 2 palms coming to rest at the center of my chest. 2 very familiar hands, the chewed-up fingernails, the dark skin a little darker at the knuckles, the wire-thin pinky ring, the bright red watch, the bracelet with 2 beads on it, jade for him and agate for me. I wore one just like it. I smiled then, the same way I smiled every time I saw Jimmy. Part of my happiness lived wherever he was. "Beautiful day," he said to me. "Beautiful day," I agreed, then turned in his arms to sanctify the morning with our "this is real" kiss. The first bell rang. I still had to run to my locker before homeroom. "Everything feels a little different today, doesn't it?" Jimmy asked. We kissed again, then parted. But his words echoed with me. I was too young to remember when the Supreme Court upheld the rights of gay Americans and all the weddings started happening. But I imagined that day felt a lot like today. I'd heard so many older people talk about it, about what it meant to know you had the same right as everyone else. I wasn't alive when Obama was elected either, and instead came to consciousness at a time when there was a bigot on the megaphone, dividing the country further and shoving us right into a pandemic. I spent 6th grade at home, barely learning and never seeing my friends. Even when the bigot with the megaphone lost his election, things didn't get much better. We were still in a pandemic. People yelled at each other more and more, in no small part because they could yell from their bedrooms instead of having to actually leave the house to do it face to face. This past election was absolutely brutal. But the brutality of it was an issue itself, and I think finally enough people were like, this is not how we should be. Enough of us believed we had to unplug the hate machine before it destroyed us all. I understood now that Stein had won. He was likely to become more moderate to get along with Congress, especially since we'd only won by the margin of Kansas. But still, everything did feel a little different. Yes, the kids walking the halls around me were the same kids who'd been there yesterday. The books in my locker were piled just the way I'd left them. Mr. Farnsworth, my homeroom teacher, waited impatiently by his door, just like he always did. But it was like someone had upped the wattage of all the lights by a dozen watts. Someone had made the air 2 shades easier to breathe. I knew this feeling wouldn't last. As soon as I realized it was euphoria, I knew it couldn't last. I couldn't even hold on to it. I could only ride within it as far as it would carry me. The second bell rang. I sprinted into class, and Mr. Farnsworth closed the door. "I expect to see you standing today," he said to me. This was the deal we had. If Stein won the presidency, I would stand for the Pledge of Allegiance for the first time since elementary school. Even back then, I hated the way it seemed to be something rote and indoctrinated, most people saying the words emptily without understanding them. To me, the whole notion that we had to pledge allegiance seemed antithetical to the notion of freedom of speech. Mr. Farnsworth